What's up, sports fans? Lance Fernandez here, and they call me the Sports Nerd, bringing you the latest news around the NFL. So without an NFL Combine this year, a lot of general managers and coaches are banking on pro days that colleges and universities are scheduling. And one of those top schools that had their recent pro day was Clemson University, of course, head coach Dabo Swinney. And one of those players who dazzled in his pro day was running back Travis Etienne, wherein he had 40-yard dash times of 4.41 and 4.43 seconds. Now that's dang fast. He can just leave defenders behind. But aside from his running skills, what's more impressive about Etienne was his catching skills. And he could be a viable receiver also for those short, quick catches, and then he can just dash 4 yards after the catch. So Bucky Brooks of the NFL Network, one of their respected analysts there, has had to say this. Does he have the ability to catch, run, and run routes? Maybe like a Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara type. When you watch him today, he caught the ball pretty well, and that's high regard from someone who has been in the game for decades. So for all the talk about Najee Harris being the top selection in terms of running back in the 2021 NFL Draft, maybe teams can also look at Travis Etienne if they want to bolster their backfield, or also add another option in their spread offense passing game. So speaking of offense, and the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line was defeated handily by the pass rush of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 55. Patrick Mahomes just had to run for his life, ran around 400 yards throughout the game, mostly in circles, and he was sacked 3 times rather, and it could have been more if not for the escapism acts of Mahomes. And now more problems are brewing because the Chiefs are apparently cutting 2 of their starting tackles. We're talking about Pro Bowler Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. Now, they don't have any choice because they are over the cap. The league has set the cap at $182.5 million, and they are still over it, so that's why they had to cut players out of their payroll, and apparently these 2 players, Fisher and Schwartz, will be victims of the cap crunch. So by cutting these 2 players, it will clear $18 million in cap space for the Kansas City Chiefs, which puts them closer to being below that cap ceiling of 182.5. However, more problems are brewing because we already know the problems that the Kansas City O-line has, and then take out their best player in Fisher and one of their viable starters in Schwartz. And now we know that Kansas City will be prioritizing the O-line, if not via free agency, but also through the 2021 draft. So let's wait and see how the Kansas City Chiefs will address that concern in their roster to protect one of the better quarterbacks in the league in Patrick Mahomes. So speaking of NFL news, we have more NFL news, and we go to the lighter side of things. So there's this news item from Yahoo News wherein it was alleged that a former war veteran that is, of the Vietnam War, his name is Tom Garvey. He's now 78 years old, but during the late 70s and the early 80s, he used to live within Veterans Stadium, not just occasionally, but he lived there for about 3 years. So what happened was, after the war, he had nowhere to go, but he worked as one of the parking attendants in Veterans Stadium, and with no housing, with no address, so he was able to convert a small space or a small concession stand within the stadium to be able to live there inside the stadium. So if there are no games, if there are no people around him, he was all alone inside the stadium, and that's where he lived for the better part of 3 years. And all of those stories by living inside the Veterans Stadium, he was able to write in a 188-page book entitled The Secret Apartment, Vet Stadium, A Surreal Memoir, which was published in December of 2020. So in stories detailed by the Philadelphia Inquirer, Garvey said he worked a number of odd jobs before returning to the war in 1969. he was eventually given an office and keys to a veteran stadium entrance while running parking lots outside the sports complex. So he had the keys to the stadium, and he wasn't being checked coming and going outside of the stadium. That's why he was able to sneak in his stuff, his items into that empty space and live there for as long as he can. So his stay eventually ended when the contract of his relative to run the parking concession there in Veteran Stadium ended. So he had no choice but to pack up and leave. And sadly, there is no evidence of that concession stand anymore, of that small space that he called home for about 3 years, because Veteran Stadium was closed in 2003 in September, and the following year it was demolished, leaving us with no tangible memory of the stay of Mr. Garvey inside one of the more rabid home courts in the entire NFL of all time, rather. So more NFL news. So we all know that in every draft there are compensatory picks that are given to NFL teams, and this year is no different. So 2021 NFL draft will have 36 compensatory picks in 2021 NFL draft for 17 teams. And the highest compensatory picks for the teams are the Dallas Cowboys, and they will be getting 4 compensatory picks. The Atlanta Falcons, Green Bay Packers, and the Los Angeles Rams all will have 3 compensatory picks, including diversity hire selection. So it has been a thing for the NFL that if you hire a minority coach so as to uphold diversity, that you will get a compensatory pick in return. So that's what these 3 teams are getting. And aside from Atlanta, Green Bay, Los Angeles, and Dallas, the New England Patriots were also awarded the top compensatory pick, which is the 96 overall selection. Now, as we all know, the New England Patriots have been so good with this low-key, under-the-radar draft picks, that they have been just so good over the decades to find talent that nobody else would find or even draft. So let's see how these compensatory picks will unfold. There are always diamonds in the rough to find in the latter rounds of the NFL draft, because there's just too many talent available, and you always find gems even in the latter rounds. And if there's any indication that compensatory picks are a success, look no further than Dak Prescott. And he was just dazzling in his rookie season, and he was a stable quarterback for the Cowboys, and now he was able to get a 4-year $116 million contract, wherein he will be paid $75 million in year 1, and including a $66 million bonus. So compensatory picks will always pay off if you get the right people, and the best example of that is the team that will get the most compensatory picks in the 2021 draft, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. So being the sports nerd, so I have been digging some facts that will not be readily available, so some trivial facts, so might as well see it as useless facts, but these are facts that will open your eyes and will just dazzle you with how great these players are. So next gen stats shows that the Broncos are placing the franchise tag on safety Justin Simmons. So he's just one of 10 players into the 2021 season that will be getting the franchise tag. So Simmons played 3,067 consecutive defensive snaps since the start of the 2018 season, and that is the longest active streak in the NFL. The closest defender, nowhere near, Anthony Harris of the Minnesota Vikings, just 1,158. So it's good news for the Broncos that they used the franchise tag on Justin Simmons, but their goal is still to sign him into a long-term contract up until July 15, which is months before the start of the NFL season. But until that happens, it's good to know that he will still be on their fold, because he has been a durable defender in their backfield. And just imagine 3,067 consecutive defensive snaps since 2018. So that's 3 seasons worth of work, and he did not miss a snap, and that shows the durability and of course the dependability of a Pro Bowler like Justin Simmons. So good thing for the Broncos. We're using the franchise tag on him, and may it pay dividends and may it result to a long-term deal between the two parties. So on to other NFL stats. Next Gen Stats tells us the analytics trend of the day, quarterback mobility, and the trend is going up. So the NFL is seeing a gradual shift in quarterback movement tendencies and performance. Seems like the pocket passer prototype is phased out in favor of QBs who can improvise and extend plays with their legs. And we're seeing this revolution with the likes of Lamar Jackson and even Patrick Mahomes and even to some extent Josh Allen. That if push comes to shove, if nothing happens with the plays, they can just run, dash, and gain yards for themselves. So quarterback tendencies since 2017 according to Next Gen Stats. So on the run percentage from 2017-2018 season, it was just 12.9% among quarterbacks. And 2019-2020, that is up to 14.7%, meaning that quarterbacks are running and scrambling more often than they used to. And speed at throw, 2017-2018 season, 3.66 miles per hour. 2019-2020, 3.89 miles per hour. Completion percentage on the run, 2017-2018 season among quarterbacks, 51.7%. 2019-2020 season, 53.8%. So there's also an increase on completion percentage on the run. So when they scramble and move out of the pocket, but not beyond the line of scrimmage, that they are completing passes better because even the defense is guessing what will happen next. Will this quarterback go for the first down or even more? Or is he continually looking for a target downfield? So it creates more confusion, and that's why their completion percentage on the run is also increasing. So this is a interesting stat because the NFL is still a pass-happy league, but it seems like there is a gradual shift towards passers, quarterbacks, who can also run and take off for themselves. And let's see if this will be a coming trend in the coming years, because the revolution has already been started. And would teams rather have that mobile quarterback like a Lamar Jackson or even a Kyler Murray, or would they prefer the traditional pocket passers, even the mold of like an Aaron Rodgers or even a Tom Brady? So in the 2021 NFL draft, a lot of prospects, the quarterback that is, will be up for drafting even in the first round. So let's see if the revolution will stick, or will it go back to the traditional pocket passer thing. So those have been some interesting stats in the world of football and also the latest news in the NFL. Once again, this has been your sports nerd, Lance Fernandez, and continue to subscribe and watch all of our videos here at the Watson Sports channel on YouTube. Until then, always keep it positive, and you can bet it's always sports here on Watson Sports.